Britain built some of the toughest engines the world has ever seen, simple, rugged, and built to outlast their owners. These weren't flashy supercars or complicated exotics. They were everyday motors that just refused to die. From farmland rovers still chugging after half a century, to black cabs clocking hundreds of thousands of miles, these engines became legends not through power, but through sheer, bloody-minded endurance. This is about the cars that kept Britain moving. Engines you could fix with a spanner by the roadside, that fired up after years in a barn, and that became beloved family heirlooms. Let's celebrate 10 old British cars with engines that truly last forever. The Land Rover series, built from 1948 to 1985, was powered by engines designed like tanks. Early models used a simple 2.0-litre overhead valve petrol engine, producing just 52 horsepower, with a 2.0-litre diesel arriving in 1957, later enlarged to 2.25 litres. These weren't sophisticated, pushrod valves, cast iron blocks, basic fuel systems, but they were utterly indestructible. Land Rover famously claimed in 1992 that 70% of all series vehicles ever built were still on the road, a testament to their legendary durability. Farmers recall Series 1 and 2 engines chugging along for decades with nothing more than oil changes and the occasional valve adjustment. Owners carried wrenches in the boot and fixed leaks by the roadside. Yet the old workhorses just kept rolling. Many series Land Rovers became beloved family heirlooms. Dad's old Landy that survived rust, neglect, and years standing idle, only to fire up first turn of the key. The engine's simplicity meant anyone could maintain it. Gaskets, hoses, and bearings were cheap and plentiful. Stories abound of farmers using the same series engine for 30, 40, even 50 years without major overhaul. It's this no-nonsense reliability that made the series Land Rover the backbone of British countryside life. The Morris Minor, built from 1948 to 1971, became Britain's beloved little green car thanks to its remarkably robust engine. Early models had a 918 cubic centimetre side valve, but from 1956, the Minor 1000 introduced the 803 cubic centimetre Austin A-series overhead valve engine, a humble, simple four-cylinder that proved famously tough. Morris even ran a new Minor non-stop for 10 days, covering 10,000 miles with only a minor regulator failure, demonstrating its endurance in factory tests. The A-series was easy to maintain. Basic points, plugs, and valve adjustments were all most owners needed. Generations remember the Minor as the car that wouldn't quit, shuttling kids to school, hauling rubbish, or pottering to the village shop without complaint. DIY maintenance was part of life, kick-starting the choke on cold mornings, topping up oil with a funnel on Sunday afternoons. The Minor was often a hand-me-down, passed through families for decades. Owners recall highway jaunts at a steady 70 miles per hour in the 948 cubic centimetre version, and even a neglected engine would happily purr back to life after months sitting in a shed. Its simplicity and reliability made it the quintessential British runabout, a car that outlasted its owners and became a cherished piece of motoring heritage. The Mini, built from 1959 to 2000, became an icon not just for its cheeky looks, but for its incredibly tough engine. Over 5.38 million were made, using transverse-mounted A-series petrol engines ranging from 848 cubic centimetres to 1,275 cubic centimetres. These simple overhead valve engines were modest in power but phenomenally durable. Many Minis racked up huge mileages on original engines with only routine maintenance, oil changes, valve adjustments, and the occasional carburetor tune. The A-series was so straightforward that owners could work on them in driveways with basic tools. Every family seemed to have a Mini, and its distinctive raspy exhaust note and bouncy ride are unforgettable. Owners spent Sunday mornings under the bonnet fiddling with SU carburetors or adjusting the distributor, but once properly tuned, they'd simply keep going. Wax-oiled floors and a boot full of spanners were par for the course. Minis served as first cars, daily runabouts, delivery vans, and even racing machines. Stories abound of neglected Minis sitting through harsh winters, only to fire up on the first turn of the key come spring. The engine's simple design, pushrod valves, cast iron block, minimal electronics, meant fewer things could go wrong. For generations, the Mini was proof that British engineering, at its best, was brilliantly simple and endlessly reliable. The Jaguar Mark II, built from 1959 to 1967 in Coventry, was a luxury sports saloon powered by one of Britain's greatest engines, the XK-6. Available in 2.4-litre, 3.4-litre or 3.8-litre versions, this twin-cam aluminium engine was in production from 1949 to 1992, a testament to its brilliance. The XK engine was renowned for its smoothness, power, and remarkable durability. Even decades later, Mark IIs are prized because their engines rarely gave up, delivering effortless performance with proper care. Owners recall the 6 cylinders' reassuring thrum, smooth at idle, muscular under acceleration, and the joy of long motorway runs without a hint of mechanical complaint. The XK's aluminium construction kept weight down, while 7 main bearings ensured strength and refinement. Many Mark IIs became Dad's smart car, perfect for Sunday tours or spirited drives on country roads. Enthusiasts carried a toolkit on long trips, though the independent suspension and robust drivetrain were blissfully reliable. Older Britons fondly remember family outings in a Mark II, or spotting one in classic shows like Inspector Morse. The engine's longevity meant many survived well into the modern era, still firing with that distinctive, straight-six growl. It was a true workhorse of the 1960s, elegant, powerful, and built to last a lifetime. The MG/MGB, built from 1962 to 1980, became Britain's most popular sports car, with over 523,000 made. It was powered by the 1.8-litre B/MC/B series overhead valve 4-cylinder engine, producing around 95 horsepower. The B series was essentially a beefed-up post-war design with a 5-bearing crankshaft from 1964, making it simple, strong, and incredibly durable. Properly maintained, MGB engines routinely ran beyond 100,000 miles with ease, and parts remain plentiful even today. The engine's pushrod valve design meant many owners could tackle repairs themselves, adjusting tappets, rebuilding carburetors, or replacing gaskets in the driveway. The MGB became a classic teenage dream. Owners recall open-top drives through country lanes, weekend tinkering on twin SU carbs, and the satisfaction of keeping their roadster running with basic tools. The B series was forgiving. It tolerated amateur mechanics, neglect, and even poor fuel. Stories abound of rusting MGBs sitting abandoned on farms, only to be revived with fresh oil, new points, and a battery. The engine would cough to life and settle into its familiar burble, ready for another decade. This blend of simplicity, accessibility, and toughness made the MGB engine legendary among enthusiasts, proving that British sports car reliability was no myth when the engineering was right. The Austin Cambridge, built from 1954 to 1961, was a solid, mid-size family saloon that introduced many to the legendary B-Series engine. Early models used the new 1.2-litre B-Series overhead valve 4-cylinder, upgraded to 1.5 litres from 1956. At launch, engineers boasted the B-Series was only a few years old and would go on for decades. And they were right. The reinforced block, large bearings, and efficient cooling meant these engines were genuinely long-lived. The Cambridge was seen as a dependable family car of the 1950s, often outliving its original owners. Mechanics of the era recall performing only routine tune-ups, points, plugs and oil changes, yet the engines kept running year after year. Even into the 1970s, a Cambridge engine could fire up immediately after sitting idle for months. Many were later repurposed as workhorses, farm errands, taxi duties or general haulage. Families remember the Cambridge as the dependable, bridal white Austin that Mum or Dad inherited and never had to worry about. Its simplicity made roadside repairs straightforward. A blocked fuel line or worn distributor cap could be fixed with basic tools. The Cambridge wasn't glamorous, but it exemplified British middle-class reliability, unpretentious, sturdy, and built to serve faithfully for decades without drama or expense. The Bedford CA van, built from 1952 to 1969, was a light commercial workhorse found in every British village and town. Early CAs used a 1.5-litre pushrod petrol engine, later upgraded to 1.6 litres, with an optional 1.8-litre Perkins diesel. This robust overhead valve engine, shared with the Vauxhall Victor, was beautifully simple to maintain. Many CA vans in country villages kept running for 30 years or more, carrying milk churns, tools, and deliveries without complaint. The engine's straightforward design meant anyone with basic mechanical knowledge could keep it alive, adjusting points, swapping spark plugs, or replacing gaskets by the roadside. The cream-coloured Bedford Dormobile campers and green post office vans became fixtures of daily British life. Workshops recall owners lifting the tiny bonnet flap to make quick adjustments, then driving off without fuss. Generations of tradesmen took the CA for granted. Bakers, plumbers, electricians all relied on its dependability. Even after sitting idle for months, the little engine usually turned over at first crank, making it legendary for enduring reliability. Stories abound of CAs handed down through families, converted into campers, or still serving small businesses decades after leaving the factory. The Bedford CA proved that commercial vehicles could be just as indestructible as any Land Rover, quietly serving Britain's working folk for generations. The Morris J4 van, built from 1960 to 1974, was a forward control workhorse marketed by both Morris and Austin. It used the same rugged 1.6-litre B-Series petrol engine found in Land Rovers and MGBS, with an optional 1.5-litre diesel. This shared engine was proven, simple, and nearly bulletproof. The J4 became a common sight as a post office mail van, delivering letters and parcels across Britain. Mailmen and delivery drivers remember the J4 as a tireless companion. Its B-Series engine would happily grind out low-gear trips all day without complaint, stopping and starting at every letterbox. DIY fixes were routine. Hoses, filters, and ignition points changed by the curbside, and the J4 just kept going. Old photographs show J4s plastered with Union Jack bunting on Jubilee parades, still faithfully in service after years of hard work. The ease of maintenance, requiring only basic tools and common sense, meant families often inherited retired J4s, converting them into DIY campers or farm utility vehicles. The J4's engine was so forgiving that even amateur mechanics could keep it running with minimal fuss. It wasn't pretty or fast, but it was dependable beyond measure, embodying the best of British utilitarian engineering, simple, honest, and built to serve without fanfare or failure. The Austin FX3, built from 1948 to 1958, was the classic post-war black cab that defined London streets. It was fitted with a stout 2.2-litre Big 4 overhead valve, petrol engine producing between 50 and 68 horsepower, with later diesel conversions available. Designed to survive a full 10-year working life, as mandated by taxi regulations, the engine was specifically chosen for durability and ease of maintenance. Cabbies of the era joke that the FX3's engine could run on anything, and probably has. Known for its sturdy gearbox and distinctive front luggage platform, the FX3 rarely stranded drivers mid-shift. Regular maintenance was basic, changing glow plugs, adjusting the Bendix starter, topping up oil, and could be done quickly between fares. Londoners recall scenes at Trafalgar Square taxi ranks, where cabs sat idling for hours in all weathers, yet still started up perfectly when called upon. The FX3's simple mechanics meant generations of mechanics could swap entire engines over a weekend if needed, yet most original motors quietly soldiered on for years. Families often bought retired FX3s as curiosities or project vehicles, discovering engines that still ran sweetly despite decades of hard London service. The FX3 embodied working-class British reliability, unglamorous, practical, and utterly dependable, carrying countless Londoners home through fog, rain, and the daily grind. The Austin FX4, built from 1958 to 1997, was the famous successor to the FX3 and the most iconic black cab ever made. Built for 40 years with remarkably little change, early FX4s had a 2.2-litre BMC diesel engine, later upgraded to 2.5-litre petrol options, mounted on a separate chassis. Over 75,000 were built, and many racked up more than 300,000 miles in hard taxi service. The FX4's engine was so robust that cabs were often passed between drivers, rebuilt, and put straight back to work. These taxis were so ubiquitous that families often had one wedged in the driveway as a weekend project or quirky runabout. Mechanics remember clattering under the scuttle to bleed brakes or service the glow plug system, and the FX4's engine would simply keep ticking over, shift after shift, year after year. Even abandoned FX4s from 1980s fleets are often seen resurrected by enthusiasts, their engines still willing to fire with basic attention. For Londoners, the sight and distinctive diesel clatter of an FX4 on the street instantly evokes decades of history: weddings, late-night rides home, airport runs, and everyday life. Its hard-working engine carried countless lives safely through the capital, night after night, proving that true British engineering longevity wasn't reserved for luxury, it belonged to the people. These 10 British classics prove that true automotive immortality comes from simplicity, honesty, and brilliant engineering. Built to be fixed, not replaced, their engines became legends, not through flashy power figures, but through sheer, unstoppable endurance. They're still out there, rumbling, chugging, and refusing to die.